Hey, I'm wondering if you'd be up for talking a little bit about your health journey. I mean, one of the things that's remarkable, you keep saying over the last 4 years, there's been massive other subplots to you and Clark's personal lives over these 4 years. And one of that is your health journey. And just if you could just take us a little bit into what you've experienced with MS and how that's impacted your leadership.
Yeah. I lose track of timelines a little bit, but I think like about 6 years ago, I was diagnosed with MS. And so for me, is one of those like life-changing moments for me that caused me to like really reevaluate everything. And my tendency has always been to be like a little bit of a workaholic, like someone who I just like work really hard all day long, and they'll take my computer home at the end of the day and just like keep going. And I'm diagnosed with this like incurable neurological disease that really has me questioning, like, am I going to be able to do the things that I love? What does my future look like? Am I going to be able to preach? Because sometimes people think about MS and they see the physical, like the physical impact that has on people's bodies with, maybe they end up in a wheelchair, you need to use a cane or whatever that looks like. But I would say that some of the like cognitive challenges that can come with MS are even greater than the physical things. And it's just because the nature of the disease is that like wherever you have damage on your brain, that can affect whatever that function is. And so much of our brains obviously are responsible for cognitive things. So I was finding like even I'd be preaching and I wouldn't be able to like remember where I was going next. And I would feel like I would just always like lose my train of thought, or in my head as I was preparing, I was like, okay, I know exactly what I'm going to do. And it's like a good moment. And then I wouldn't get a good night's sleep the night before. And my brain just felt like it was slowing down. And all of a sudden the things that I felt so confident in, I felt like I couldn't communicate, or I'd be trying to find a word and I would just be like, that's why it's so mean that you just made me do my 7 values.
I'm so sorry.
It's fine. Expose all my weaknesses. I'm just kidding.
So sorry.
But I would like be trying to remember, and I would just be trying to find like a word, and it could be like a simple word like calendar. And I was like, oh, what's that called? Like, what's that sheet? And I'd like find, and it felt, I think I had these moments where I was like, okay, God, I really believe that like I've given my life to like serve you and to help other people discover that. And I feel like you've given me gifts to be able to like lead in the church. And now I find myself with this disease, and like, what is that? Is this going to take all that away from me? Like, how am I still supposed to lead and serve you? Because I'm like, it's embarrassing. Like when you can't find the words to say things, or you think even, someone comes and asks you to do like a speaking engagement, and you just like know that your brain isn't firing properly and like functioning properly, and you feel like you totally bombed. And I'm like, I can't say yes to speaking engagements anymore. Nobody should give me a microphone. Like, how am I supposed to do that? And even like, there's some days you feel tired and you're like, oh, does the team think I'm lazy? Because I've like had to just call it in a little bit earlier, especially when you've like really valued work ethic yourself in your whole life. And so anyway, I started to wrestle with all those things, and just like really work through that, figuring out who I wanted to be and what life looked like. And then, like probably 2 years after that, we end up at the church, and I hadn't been shy about my diagnosis. And so the church kind of heard and knew when we were getting voted in that I had MS. And I think that for me, I felt, whether this is like perceived or reality, I felt like they were like, oh, like, well, she's not really going to be the leader. Like, she's not really going to be able to do much because she's sick. And I'm like, like, I just hate when other people put that on me. Like, there's some moments where I'm like, sorry guys, I'm not feeling well. But when other people are like, oh, you can't do that, you're sick. I'm like, Mike, like, I don't know if you've watched the Michael Jordan documentary, but he's like, yeah, egg me on, tell me I can't do something. I'm like, that's like my personality. And so then I think that causes me to want to like rise up even more and be like, no, like I can do this. Anyway, that's a sidetrack. But we like started off, and I felt that like real, like it felt like a bit of a challenge to me. Like, how am I going to continue to lead in this? Because I do, like, I still feel very insecure about this like MS diagnosis, because I don't know what every day is going to look like. I don't know what I'm capable of. Some days I feel like I can knock things out of the park, and other days it's like things just like are not firing properly and not connecting. And it's hard, but I just like keep saying to myself, at the end of my life, I want to be able to look back on my life and know that I did absolutely everything that I could to advance the gospel and to help God in the reconciliation of everything here on this earth. Like, I want to be able to say that I did my best. And so sometimes that means that I'm leading and living out of a weak place, but I'm still trying to like do the best that I can in my weakness. And that sometimes looks a little bit less than what I would like it to look like, but it is what it is.
How has that health journey impacted some of your personal rhythms? I'm thinking about diet, rest, exercise, even prayer, meditation. You take us into a bit about how you sort of, because I know one of your values that you guys described was victor over victims.
Yeah.
I think part of that is really modeled well in your life of how you said, okay, I'm going to do everything I can to bring the healthiest version of myself to the table, even if that's not as healthy as I'd like it to be. Can you just take us into some of how you've reordered your life to be able to maintain the leadership that you have still?
Yeah. I, like very early on, I was like, okay, if this is going to be my life, if I have this disease, how can I still live my best life? If I have 5 good years, how do I live those 5 years like the best that I can live them? And so I went and I had kind of like your conventional medical treatments, and I did like some pretty intense like medical treatment stuff with my doctors and neurological team. But then I started to do some research, and I realized that like my diet and my lifestyle could also really impact my health. And so I like drastically changed my diet, like cut out basically everything you can think of that tastes good. I decided to like cut out because of the inflammation that it was causing in my body, and just started to eat in a very like whole foods way, and started to really be mindful of just making sure that my body was active and I was treating it well. I even like cut out things like coffee, just to give me time to just like slow down and calm down my nervous system and things. And it was just like, I honestly went from having like a very workaholic, like drink coffee, eat quickly on the go, like work all the time in front of my screen, to seeing like, okay, how do I manage my stress, feed my body well, slow down, take time for the things that are important. And it was like a drastic shift for me. And even people started to question me right from the beginning. They're like, what are you doing? Like, if you really, like, if you already are going to live with this disease, why do you want to make your life harder by cutting out things that taste good? Or, you know, but you love coffee. Like, why would you give up coffee? Like, isn't that, if your life is already going to be hard, then shouldn't you have things? And this is what I continue to say to people to this day is like, I love my life. Like, I love the life that I have. I love the people in my life. I love what I do. I want to be as effective as I can in the things that I put my hands to. So to me, I'm like, why wouldn't I like give up some things that could prevent that from being everything that I want it to be? Like, if me eating more vegetables and less pastries is going to make me more capable to be able to like communicate clearer and to think clearer, then why wouldn't I give that up for the sake of being able to use my life for what really matters? And so it has been like a major, it's night and day. My life, when I think about what my life looked like 6 years ago, I feel like it's just like night and day, to where it was like I was working full time and running a nonprofit organization on the side and doing my master's full time at the same time. Like, that's like the kind of life that I had. And now I'm just like trying to figure out how to have like space to just like do the things that I love, be with the people I love, take care of myself, my mind, my body, my spirituality. And that has been like, it is literally, I feel like I'm a different person than I was 6 years ago. Hopefully in a good way. I'm just sure there's things too that I need to work through, but I feel like I'm like a completely different person because of that shift that happened in my life. It just like really made me reevaluate everything.